And if you think about this on an energetic level, everything is energy. Everything takes up space. And when you really are being called to deepen in your purpose, in your mission, in your calling, to step more into your authenticity and your truth, there has to be space for that to come in, to enter into your life, and for you to embody it, right? Whenever we're shifting on an identity level, there's an energetic shift that has to happen first. And this happens through who you're choosing to be. And when we're expanding on this energetic level, right, there is this embodiment that has to take place. And because of this, there has to take space. There has to be room and space for integration, right? You cannot expand your capacity. You cannot step into a new iteration of your life, of your business, of your relationships without you first becoming fully embodied and integrated in the teaching first. Let that really land for a minute. Welcome back to the Shadow Priestess Embodied podcast. I'm your host, Kaylin Rakowski, and welcome back. So, you guys, we are in for a juicy conversation today. If you've been following along with me, following my podcast, then you know your girl has been in one of the biggest initiations of my life. It's literally been one of the biggest initiations, dark nights of the soul, and I can finally say that I am emerging on the other side. And honestly, I've took the last 3 weeks where I've kind of disconnected from social media. I haven't really been showing up much like outward facing, and really just taking time to attend to my body, attend to my nervous system, and to really give space for this next iteration of, my life, of my business, and what's really unfolding. And being in this little cave mode, lately the message on my heart has really been about patience, perseverance, and power. And how those things are truly what got me through the void and what really got me through this time in my life. And I don't even know where I want to start, you guys. I have so much I want to share with you today. So the first thing I want to share is a little bit about my story, just in case, you don't know, I'm going to share with you. A little bit after 2023 started, I got let go from what I considered to be my dream job. And it really was a complete just obliteration to my identity, to my ego, and really had me just questioning, like, then what? If not this, then what? And shortly after that, I think a month after that happened, my dad was murdered. And dealing with being in this deep portal of transition and initiation. And then on top of that grief, I also had a 5-month-old baby at the time, as well as my other children. And life just felt very uncertain and felt very chaotic. I didn't really know where I was being called. I didn't really know where God was guiding me to go. And, part of the void is really beginning to change your relationship with the unknown, to change your relationship with the mystery. And whew, that is not a fun one to be in, y'all. I'll just say, if you're in the deep trenches of transformation and rebirth, then I send you so much love and grace, because it's a really hard place to be in. And it doesn't last forever. And I think that's the hardest thing when you're, on your hands and knees with God and you're in this transition, is just realizing that it is a transition, and, it is temporary. And just like there's seasons to nature, there's seasons to our life. And the more that you can really begin to embrace these different stages of the void and these different seasons of life, how much easier you're able to navigate them and also find your power in them. And, for those of you who aren't familiar with the void is like the space in between. The void is like when you enter the womb of the cosmic mother. Or you can think of it as like a cauldron, right? It's dark, it's mysterious, it's uncertain, it is completely unknown. And, what typically happens first is like there's some form of death, whether this be you lose a job, you have a death in the family, if you're an overachiever like me, you like to do both at the same time, maybe it's a big financial thing, a health thing, whatever it is. It's something that pretty much comes up and completely dismantles your reality, completely dismantles your identity with who you believed yourself to be, what you thought you were here to do, how you showed up, how you related to the world. Everything begins to change, and there's just this death. There's this dismantling of self. And then you kind of enter into the void after that, where you're in this space of darkness. You're in this space of just gestation, where who you believed yourself to be, what you thought you liked, just everything just gets kind of flipped upside down. The rug gets ripped under your feet. And it's really like birthing a new iteration or a new version of self. And the thing about the void is that, like, what I've realized over the last year and a half anyway, is that you can't rush creation, right? You can't make a baby, or excuse me, you can't make a woman, speed up the process of creating life. And the same is with you in the void, right? You can't speed it up because you're uncomfortable and you want clarity and you want certainty and you don't want to be there anymore. It just doesn't work that way. God, I wish it did several times. There were several times during that point where I was in the void, where I was in the unknown, where I just had no idea what was happening. I had no idea what was coming. I had no idea what God was wanting me to do. And I bantered with God, you guys. I yelled at God. I cried at God. I fought with God. And so much of being in this stage of the void, of being in the gestation process, is really changing your relationship, not only with the unknown, but with God. And really coming back home into being a self-sourced man or woman, where your power, your validation, your recognition, your sense of safety, most importantly, your sense of safety, is sourced from within. When it's almost like you get stripped of all the ego attachments or all the false templates that truly are not in alignment with your essence or with your calling, and you give space for what is desiring to emerge and to be birthed through you. And being in the gestation period is probably one of the hardest parts. And after you go past gestation, you start moving into creation, where you start getting these pulling, these nudge, these curiosities, these just impulses that are coming into the void, that are waiting for you, your higher self, to buy into it, to create, to move with it, right? And the more that you begin to step into creation and you start allowing these new seeds to bud and for you to tend to them, they start to bear fruit, right? They start to bear fruit, and that is when you emerge. And right now I can finally say that I am in the emergence, and holy shit, I never thought I was going to get here. I never thought I was going to get here. And being on the other side of this dark chapter of my life, or this difficult season, I just wanted to come on and give name and speak to what so many of you go through, or maybe are going through, or maybe, you're in the process of emerging out of. And some of the biggest things is, really allowing yourself to be spirit led. I think that the void is really initiation back into your essence, back into your soul. When you stop chasing what you think you should do, or what you thought you wanted, or what your parents wanted for you, or your partner wanted from you, and you start really leading with desire. And I know that sounds really simple, but it doesn't mean that it isn't profound, because so many of us don't truly live a life from desire. We don't live from choice. We don't live from just pure like Shakti and excitement and just like that pulse of like, I want to do this thing, simply because I want to do the thing, not to get money, not to get likes, not to get validation, not to get approval from anyone. It's simply because it's a soul fuck yes. And I think that the void really teaches us what this looks like to come back home to yourself, to be self-sourced in your power, in your safety, in your spirituality, in your relationship with God, and really allowing that to be your compass. And I think one of the hardest things with this is, I actually had this analogy come forward with one of my private clients, is that it's like learning to drive in the fog, right? being in the void is so much about learning to drive in the fog, where it's like, I can only see the next step. I can't see miles down the road. I can't see, the end destination, but, I can see a few feet in front of me. And can I trust myself to move in that way and to just take that one step forward? And then you go a few more feet, and boom, you can see more of the road and more of the road and more of the road. And that's so much of what my experience has been over this year and a half, is just learning to drive in the fog, learning to be comfortable in the discomfort, in the unknown, in the uncertainty, and still feeling safe there. And where this patience, perseverance, and power comes in is, being in the void, you have to have patience. Like I said, you can't rush creation. You can't rush birth. And having patience, having grace, having acceptance of yourself and where you're at, and knowing that it's perfect. Having the perseverance to keep going despite the challenges, despite the road bumps, despite how many times you're told no, or things fail, or doors may close in your face. Like, do you trust in yourself and what you're here to do, and your relationship with God and your calling to keep going despite of what's showing up on your path, right? It's that perseverance and resiliency that get you through the harder seasons. And that's so much of that self-source safety and self-source power. And to me, where personal power has really come into this is kind of like a building block on that. Having the patience, having the perseverance, and, despite what this last year and a half of my life has looked like, I haven't made it mean anything about me. It didn't mean that I wasn't good enough. It didn't mean that I wasn't talented enough. It didn't mean that I wasn't powerful. It didn't mean that I wasn't gifted. It just simply meant that I was in a transition. And the power in that comes from not collapsing. When you can hold your power through the storm and not collapse, that is when you find sovereignty. When you don't need, like I said, you don't need the money or the validation or the status or the title for you to feel a sense of power, where you can be naked, hands and knees with God, facing the hardest circumstances of your life and not collapsing under that pressure. Like, that is truly when your energetic capacity expands, not only to receive more, but also to serve in a deeper capacity. And, kind of why I'm on that thread, what I think is really important to note here too is that, like, I really am someone who believes that these seasons of life, that the void, are preordained for your becoming. And that we go through these deep portals of initiation so that we can create new reference points in our system, in our field, in our aura, in our service, right? It's a lot easier for me to guide people in the trenches when I've also walked through the trenches. It's a lot easier for me to guide people through money challenges when I faced some of the hardest money challenges of my life this past year. I created these reference points in my system, not only for me to expand my personal capacity and to step deeper into my power, into my mission, but also to be in deeper service to the collective and to all the clients that I choose to walk with and hold through the same seasons. Okay? And I think sometimes another reason why we can resist the void is because there's a sense of spaciousness that has to take place in our life. And if you think about this on an energetic level, everything is energy. Everything takes up space. And when you really are being called to deepen in your purpose, in your mission, in your calling, to step more into your authenticity and your truth, there has to be space for that to come in, to enter into your life, and for you to embody it, right? Whenever we're shifting on an identity level, there's an energetic shift that has to happen first. And this happens through who you're choosing to be. And when we're expanding on this energetic level, right, there is this embodiment that has to take place. And because of this, there has to take space. There has to be room and space for integration, right? You cannot expand your capacity. You cannot step into a new iteration of your life, of your business, of your relationships without you first becoming fully embodied and integrated in the teaching first. Let that really land for a minute. And you have to really allow this integration to take place. You have to allow the space for what is desiring to come in, what is desiring to be created, what is desiring to be born through you. Again, I'm going to keep going back to the analogy of giving birth, but it's the same way when you are a creatrix and you are here to create this new reality or this new chapter or this new business idea, insert blank, right? You have to have time to gestate, to create, to attune to nurture what is desiring to come forth. And this creates, oh, sorry, my door just slammed. That scared me for a second. This demands a lot of space, right? This demands a lot of space. And it's the space that so many of us are not comfortable with because we've been so heavily programmed in toxic masculinity, where we feel like our sense of worthiness or a sense of value is on how much we produce, what we achieve. You know, we go, 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 go until we can't go anymore. And that's not the way that spirit creates. That's not the way that a soul aligned transition will be birthed or created in your life. And there's like almost this phase in the space as well where, you know, as you're expanding your energetic capacity, as you're expanding on an energetic level, you know, there's this almost like reattuning and recalibrating to the unique genius and value that you bring to the world. And as you reattune to this and you recalibrate to this at a higher level, it also creates this space or this vacuum where, you know, some people are going to be called forward with you. Some people are going to see you rising and they're going to say, fuck yes, like, let's go. And they're going to want to come too, and they'll follow you. Then there's going to be people who don't desire to go where you're going and they fall away. But it's like in this expansion, as the elevator is like kind of like going up, you're going to have people that get on and you're going to have people that get off, right? But it's like the more people that leave your world, it's like, again, you're creating that space for more aligned relationships, connections, you know, clients, whatever that looks like, to come into your life that you are an energetic match for. It's about moving into the rooms, into the spaces with people who already value the genius that you're bringing. Not trying to convince people that you used to work with, not trying to convince old partners or old relationships on whatever capacity that looks like. It's like moving from that energy of convincing, improving, and stepping into the rooms and the places with the people who already fucking know, who see you and they go, yes, yes, fuck yes. You know what I mean? It's a different type of exchange when people come to you on frequency alignment. There's no convincing, there's no proving, there's no, you know, I'm losing the word I'm looking for, but there's no any of that energy there, right? They come to you because their value aligns with who you are being. What they value in the world is directly correlated to the embodiment that you are emanating into the field. And to them, when you connect on that frequency level, when you connect on a heart level, it is a fuck yes. It's a non-negotiable. It's a magnetism. It's a radiance that is undeniable. Okay? But like I said, when you are stepping into a new identity, there is this integration and embodiment that has to take place first, right? And this is what, how do I want to put this? It's this integration and embodiment that you do first and foremost within yourself that sends signals out into the field, that ripples into potential clients, you know, environments, relationships, you know, all of those type of things that are actually going to be in alignment for you to deeper fulfill your mission here on earth and what you came here to do. And the hardest part about this process is, you guys, is that your conscious mind, your ego, your current identity is going to think it knows what's best. It's going to think it knows the way. It's going to think it knows, you know, what you should be doing. And then you simply end up creating something that you've already seen before. It's not coming from the soul. It's not coming from your unique essence. And the hardest part in the void for me this last year was realizing that I actually have no fucking idea how things are supposed to be. I have no idea how things are supposed to go or should go. And letting go of all those all those tricky ways, I guess, that my ego wanted to come in and take the driver's seat, where it wanted to, control the unknown, where it wanted to control the mystery, where it was grasping and clinging for things because it so deeply didn't want to be in this place of uncertainty. And the more that you realize that you don't really know how it's supposed to go, and you embody deep surrender with yourself, with God, and really coming back to that concept of being spirit led, driving in the fog, taking it one step at a time, it's like then you will truly be able to see the path ahead and where your soul is wanting to go. Not where ego's wanting to go, not what you see other people on Instagram or TikTok or whatever doing that you think looks cool and looks successful. So you try to mirror it, duplicate it, replicate it. No, it doesn't work that way. And there's a reason why it's not working for you, because it's not authentic, it's not genuine to your unique essence, to your gifts, and to the unique energetic blueprint that you carry. Okay? And honestly, this has been probably the hardest thing for me, was letting go of what I thought it was going to be to make space for who I truly am and who I'm becoming. And there were so many times during this time when I really thought God had given up on me. I thought God had forgotten about me. I started questioning my spiritual relationship, I guess, for lack of a better term. And to me, that was one of the most disturbing things of the void, was that I felt like I was so lost in the darkness that I almost lost that connection. I thought that God, forgot about me, or, didn't, was punishing me for something. And through the darkness and through all of this, I've come into such a deeper connection with God, and just such a deeper reverence and just respect for his plan or her plan, and the timing, the divine timing of life. There is an unfolding, there is an unfurling. And sometimes, like, things have to completely dismantle and unfurl to get to the most beautiful parts of self and of your life. And where God has guided me now, in the direction that my career is going and my new relationships and communities, it's a path that I never would have consciously thought my way into, but could not be more excited to. I've always been someone who's been intrigued by altered states of consciousness. I've, done my fair share of plant medicine, and now I can see the building blocks of all the different things in my life, and how it's led me to this beautiful opportunity where I'll be acting as a psychedelic experience guide, where I'll help people navigate these altered states of consciousness. And in doing so, also be there to coach them, to guide them, to support them through different, energetic transmissions, through embodiment work, through trauma and somatics. And this new partnership that I'm venturing out in is something that I consciously could never have thought my way to, but literally feels so aligned. It feels like a fuck yes. It's exciting every part of my body and my system. I've loved the interaction so far with the clients that I've got to walk with and guide through these different experiences and different journeys. And it really is awakening the medicine woman in me. I've always been a healer. I'm a quantum healer. I'm an intuitive. I'm a medium. I have always been a healer. And this is such a beautiful bridge where I get to take the last 5 years that I've spent deep diving into coaching and embodiment work, and really weaving that beautiful back into being the medicine woman. And emerging on the side of the void, I never would have told you that I was going back to my spiritual roots, that I was going to start being a healer again, that I was going to start, leading experiences for people to experience different states of consciousness, and guiding them through that and helping them heal through trauma, depression, PTSD, grief, you name it. We're doing it. And it's honestly some of the most humbling and beautiful work I think that I'll ever embark on in my life. And again, 222, as I'm saying this on my clock, I could have never thought my way into this experience. And now I see that every roadblock, every bump, every turn was perfectly guiding me into where I'm at today, into this next chapter of my life. And, if you feel like you're in a season where you're in this transition, where things are dark, where things are uncertain, I just would encourage you to keep going, to have patience with yourself, to have patience with your timing, with God's timing, to, persevere through it, to every single day try to find your power. And what I mean by that, it's like not trying to change your current circumstance, not wishing it was different, not thinking it needs to be different, and asking yourself, how do I meet my power here? How do I show up to this with my power? And allowing the stages of the void, allowing the seasons of life to be a season, holding on to the knowing that this is temporary. And if you've made it through the hardest, darkest times of your life, why would this be any different? And can you at least trust that? Can you at least trust that? And I will say, having this space over the last year and a half, especially over the last 3 weeks where I've completely unplugged to transition into this new chapter, I feel so much more connected to my channel. I feel such a deeper connection to God. I feel like my muse has really been wanting to come out, to play, to be expressed. I'm receiving messages strong and clear, and it's a sense of clarity, excitement, and just gratitude that I haven't felt in a long time, and that I thought this void was going to last forever. I really thought it was going to last forever. And now coming back, I see how this void served me so many beautiful gifts about moving from survival to sovereignty, about changing my relationship with the unknown, moving from lack to really creating from a place of desire, really becoming a self-sourced woman where my power, my sense of validation, my sense of safety is all cultivated from within. And above everything else, learning to be spirit-led and learning to trust the nudges, the pullings, the impulses of my soul, and really letting that be my compass and my guide. So if you're going through the void, I love you. I see you. I'm with you. Just keep going. It doesn't last forever. And the next chapter of your life is probably a lot closer than you think. Love you. Thank you so much for tuning in today for another juicy episode of the Shadow Priestess Embodied podcast. Listen, I absolutely love having these conversations with you and inviting on incredible trailblazers, blueprint changers, just leaders in their own right onto this podcast to have these deep conversations. So if this is one that you found intriguing, that you found some nuggets in, please share it with a friend and get the word out, because these messages that we're sharing here are powerful, they are potent, and they are so needed as we really embrace these winds of change and birthing this new age. And if you are someone who is looking to go deeper into your own journey, I recently have opened a few private one-on-one mentor spaces, and these are truly for the people who are ready to go deep, to push their edges, to dive into their shadows, and to really meet themselves. I have devoted my life's work to helping women redefine their relationship with their power, to really become rooted in the embodiment of their essence and find the courage to walk their soul-led life. This isn't work that I take lightly, and I would love to walk with you if you are ready to say yes. For more information, you can click in the show notes and also access a wheelhouse of free trainings, activations, meditations to really help you wherever you are at on your healing journey. So until next time, talk soon. Love you big.